Blumenthal, the founders of Warby Parker. So guys, welcome to the EY Strategic Growth Forum. Hope you're enjoying it so far.
Having a blast.
Yeah, it's
So
been
far,
great.
so good. So I'm curious, tell me a little bit about where the idea for Warby Parker came from.
Sort of started from our own personal experiences, walking
Okay.
into an optical shop, getting excited about a pair of glasses, and then walking out feeling like we got ripped off. So we thought, what if we design the frames that we love, sell them with prescription lenses for $95, do it online on a website, warbyparker.com, and in the process, for every pair that we sell, what if we donated a pair to someone in need? Maybe we could solve these two problems. One is that glasses are just too expensive, and the second is that there's a lot of people around the world that don't have access to glasses.
And how's it that you guys connected over this?
Yeah, so we're actually classmates in business school, and I'd been traveling before school, and I lost my glasses, and so I showed up the first day of school without owning a pair of glasses. Went the whole first semester without owning a pair of glasses, even though I was a full-time student, and couldn't understand why they were so expensive. I didn't want to pay $700, which is how much that pair cost. And Neil had spent a few years working, running an eyewear nonprofit, and so we started talking about why glasses were so expensive and realized that there was no good reason, and thought by creating our own brand and selling them directly to consumers, we could cut out all the middlemen, all the unnecessary markups, and put a lot of money back in our customers' pockets.
So is it really about that idea of doing well by doing good, kind of, right? You kind of mix the both of the problem solving in a profitable business, but also in going to charity.
Exactly. We think that business is a really powerful engine for social good. Obviously, it creates jobs, but more than that, it can solve problems. So in this case, glasses being expensive, also glasses just not being available. So the 700 million people around the world don't have access to glasses that need them. It's crazy if you think about glasses were invented 800 years ago. So what we do is on a monthly basis, we tally up the number of glasses that we've sold, and then we make a donation to a nonprofit that has a presence in countries throughout the world, like India and Bangladesh and Guatemala and El Salvador, and they train low-income women to actually start their own businesses selling glasses, often for just a few dollars, but in their communities. So these glasses are getting on the faces of the people that need them, but it's also creating jobs in these poor communities.
So where does this drive to want to help people come from? I mean, this internal value for social good and helping others. I mean, where is it rooted in?
Yeah, so I think it really comes from us as founders, and we were excited by the prospect of disrupting this massive industry that really hadn't had any innovation, and we thought had been ripping consumers off for decades. But we also wanted to create a business that had a positive impact and did something good, and we wanted to make sure that 2 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we were still excited to come to work and build this business because we were having a massive positive impact beyond just creating a profitable business. And I think for me, I grew up the son of two doctors, and I think the idea that your profession should not only bring home a paycheck, but you should also help people, I think that was instilled in me from when I was a kid. And Neil had spent several years running a nonprofit, and our other two founders had been extensively involved in nonprofits, and so I think it was just something that was really fundamental for us in creating an organization that did something good in the world.
Well, and how do you guys as founders and now executives running a business, how do you instill those values in the people who work for you? Because inevitably your business scales, it gets larger, and you get a little further away from each of those individuals that work for you. So how do you make sure you maintain that?
I think the first thing is you have to articulate them, right? So
Sure.
We've written down our core values, and actually when we came up with them, we incorporated the whole team. So for us, our core values is sort of like the Constitution. It's a living document.
Right.
We refresh it every couple of years, and some of our core values is take our work seriously, not ourselves, do good, set ambitious goals and measure results, and it's something that we communicate constantly. So first of all, it's documented in the pantry in the busiest part of the office, right?
Smart, right? Yeah, where the traffic and the food is, right?
Exactly. And then during our full team meetings, when we're sort of reporting on interesting stuff that's going on throughout the company, we'll often sort of tie those to our core values to say, this is the reason why we're doing this. I think the second, probably the bigger thing is that you have to hire people that believe in the same things that you do. So when we're going through this interview process, we're testing, does this person's personal values align with the company's values? Do they want to be at Warby Parker? Do they believe in our mission? And if so, then it's really easy, right?
I mean, is that really part of the interview process, is laying out those values and saying, hey, is this for you or not?
Yeah, so we have 8 core values in the company, and every person that we interview, we design questions to test those, how their personal values are aligned with those core values. And so one of our core values is inject fun and quirkiness into everything you do, just because we take our work very seriously and want to have a massive impact, but we want to have fun along the way, and we think that we will treat our customers better if everyone in our team is having a good time. And so one of the questions we ask is, what was the last costume you wore? And obviously there's no right answer to that question,
right, sure.
But we want to see if people take themselves too seriously, or if they can poke fun of themselves and can explain why they were kind of sparked by a certain sense of creativity, and that led to a particular costume that they wore.
Oh, that's fantastic. So switching gears a little bit, one of the things I'm curious about is moving from entrepreneur, from ideas, right, and that excitement, to now managing the business. What have been some of the biggest, I guess, stumbling blocks or challenges you've had in switching gears to that, being that boss, so to speak?
Well, the nature of the work certainly changes, right? Like
Okay.
we used to answer the phones ourselves when we launched. It was actually crazy. We were working out of our apartments. We launched the features in Vogue and GQ, and the company took off like a rocket ship. Literally, we hit our first year sales targets in 3 weeks, sold out of our top 15 styles in 4 weeks, had a wait list of 20,000 people. And people would call us constantly, and we had Google Voice that was basically routing to our cell phones, and it would all ring at once, and whoever answered it first would get the customer on the phone. So now we obviously have a larger team sort of taking those calls. We'll still sort of chip in every now and then, keeps us sort of connected, but the natures of the work changes, and often we went from saying yes to everything to now saying no 99.9% of the time, and the decisions get tougher because by the time they get to us, they're usually tough decisions, because if they were obvious, somebody would have already answered them.
But was it hard to let go of the doing, the task stuff? Because that's where you started. That was the exciting part. Now having to basically delegate and do the work through others. Is it still tougher? There's still things you hang on to that you just can't let go of?
Yeah, I think it's always a challenge, right? We started off, there were 4 of us working out of our apartments and kind of doing everything ourselves, and we loved that experience. We loved being able to directly interface with customers and do everything that we could to make them happy, and frankly, I think we were pretty good at most of the tasks that were kind of under our responsibility, and so it's always difficult, kind of stepping back and trusting someone else to do things that that you can do well. But I think that's a transition that every entrepreneur has to make, and for us, it's just about hiring the right people that are hopefully better than us at particular tasks, and putting them in a position where they can have an impact, and we're not micromanaging them, and we're not getting in their way, but providing the right resources for them to be effective and do their jobs well.
So basically, as being good bosses is giving them the tools to do it and then staying out of the way, so to speak, right? Is that sort of what I'm hearing?
Right. Yeah, how can we empower them? How can we give them the information they need to make informed decisions? And it sort of goes back to those core values. We believe if somebody knows the mission of the company, which is twofold: radically transform the eyewear industry and demonstrate that businesses can scale, be profitable, and do good in the world without charging a premium for it. If they know that, if they know the core values, right, they can always make good decisions without any direction whatsoever.
So then what advice would you guys have for some new upstart entrepreneurs, some that are here, looking to take their business and scale it and go through some of those hurdles that you guys have gone through?
Yeah, so I think any entrepreneur has to think about building their business through the proper framework. And so for us, that framework was our core values. And so we codified those pretty early on when we were about 20 employees. And we had everyone in the company participate in that process and really use that as a guidepost for how we hire, how we fire people if we need to. That could be top performers, but if they're violating one of those core values, that's not someone that we want in our organization. And I think it's always difficult to scale culture, and culture kind of transforms on its own over time. But if you're bringing in the right people, those hiring practices can scale. And so I think that's kind of and every business is only as good as the people running it. And so focusing on the values that are important to you and incorporating those into how you interview and hire people is fundamental.
So it sounds like know your values, codify them, articulate them, and then make sure you communicate them to everybody, even if it's putting them in the pantry on the refrigerator, right? So everyone sees them.
That's That's right.
Well, thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it. And I think it's a great message when you talk about really living your values.
Thanks so much. Thanks for
Thank you.
having us.